Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. So glad you're going to join us today. We got an interview for you. Most of the episodes of our podcast are interviews with the successful students who have been through the proven Amazon course training, or they're going through it currently, building beautiful businesses, or maybe they've been through our coaching program where you can work one-on-one with an expert who's built a beautiful business using that training. And now they spend some of their time helping our newer students grow their business more quickly. That's what we do here. We interview the students who are doing business the right way. Today, we've got a student of ours who's built a great business. She's actually just recently joined our coaching team as well. Her business is up to about the $20,000 to $25,000 sales per month range. She's on a great trajectory. She's got a background in everything from politics to corporate life. She's done a lot. She's been a missionary. Her and her husband were missionaries before they started having children. So very incredible background, great story. And she's all in on e-commerce. She loves the flexibility of this lifestyle. You hear her emphasize that, how this is a business that she's squeezed into the cracks of life. A few minutes here, a few minutes there, pull out the phone, pull out the laptop when life allows her to. And she's built a great business. Something else I want to point out about today's discussion is we mention a lot of resources. We talk about things like leads lists. What's that? Well, I got a link in the show notes today to all the resources, including a recent podcast episode, since lead lists came up today, where I discuss what are lead lists, who should be using them, what's the right way to use them, because it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking that all I got to do is pay someone else to send me a list of everything I need to buy. I'll be successful, right? No, very wrong. So there's a lot of conversation today that happens around some different resources and things. You want to check the show notes for today's episode because there's a lot of good stuff there. For example, we talk about the 3-step check. What is that? We don't dive into what the 3-step check is on the episode. It comes up, but there's a link to an episode where you can go investigate further. We talk about a tool called Keepa. If you don't know what that is, there's a link to a podcast episode that talks about that. So the resources today in the show notes are very robust. Go to silentjimdotcom, find this episode, or if you're on YouTube or wherever you're watching near this episode, you'll see the show notes for today's episode. So Cassidy, like I said, it was a great interview. She's really doing tremendous with the business. She's one of the new coaches on our team. And I love that we've got a coaching team consisting now of about 60 people who have built a business using the strategies we teach here, carved out a little bit of their time each week where they can help someone else go a little further faster. And if you want to have a conversation about where you're at in your e-commerce business, about maybe working with one of our coaches, give us a call. You can go to silentjim.com/book a call, BOOKACALL, book a call, all 3 words squeezed together. Or on that same page where you see our schedule and you grab a specific time, you can also find a phone number there and you can just text us anytime. Maybe you just want to have a text conversation about our coaching programs or any of our other programs. We'd love to help you out. We want to help you get from where you are now to where you want to go with the best resources and the best tools available to make that happen. That's what we do around here all day, every day. If you didn't know, we are the longest e-commerce coaching company in the world. We've been doing it over 22 years at this point. We're proud of our reputation. We're proud of the numerous success stories. We've got hundreds of them on this show if you scroll back in time where we've interviewed our students telling their stories. And today is another great example of that. So welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. If you're new around here, we're glad you've joined us. If you've been around a while, hey, leave us a review. If you haven't left us a review yet on iTunes, that'd be really cool. We'd appreciate that. But let's get over and meet Cassidy Schoaf. You're going to enjoy this interview. So Cassidy, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Great to have you on board. And I can't wait to get into your story if you're ready.
Absolutely. Yes, I am honored to be here. For anybody that has followed along with you, making it to the podcast is really a milestone moment. Like BP before podcast, after podcast.
I love it.
I'm sure that there are many people that can really, testify to how their journey has changed just by getting more exposure to the community by coming on and connecting in this way. So for me personally, I had no idea that anybody sold on Amazon. I frequented them often. I have 4 kids and was a stay-at-home mom, so being able to get things delivered to my house is something I'm very grateful for. And I had, my husband had sent me, I think it was a Gary Vee video about reselling, which that was all kind of like thrift stores or finding one-offs at TJ Maxx or something like that, which
Right.
to me didn't seem like anything that would work out something over and over again. But I didn't even know the concept. And I thought that you bought from Amazon or maybe like Chinese sellers or something. I had no idea it could have been my neighbor sending stuff in. And then I saw a video, probably because your phone listens to you. So my one video that my husband sent me, something popped up from a girl who talked about being a CEO for her own company. And she was not someone who displayed characteristics that would line up with a CEO in my mind. And so
Sure.
I had to look into what in the world does this girl do that she could be a CEO? Because my family likes to tell a story that as a kid, I would say that what I wanted to be when I grew up was a CEO. And so I'm like, how did this girl do it? And she's someone who has courses. I never ended up buying her stuff, but she was the first time that I had looked anywhere into it being a possibility to sell things on Amazon.
I love the observation you just made, Cassie, just to make the typical CEO. Like, she doesn't look like what I think of. I think that's an interesting way the internet's changed the game. Is a 14-year-old in his mom's basement can be the CEO of a company and launch it in a day or two. Like, so, we used to think CEO meant business suit, at least on the 20th floor of some building downtown, right? It's like,
Yeah,
that's not what it means anymore. I love it. That's great. I love that observation, because that's kind of how the internet's changed the game, isn't it?
absolutely. It has, I mean, and something that would have taken someone years and years to do. This
Yeah.
girl hadn't even been alive as long as how long I would have
Yeah.
expected
Like,
me
how do you
to.
even have an MBA? You're not old enough, right?
Yes.
Like, you don't need that anymore. I would say it's actually works against you. It,
Oh, I
it
think,
is.
I mean, that it's a mindset change and
Mhm.
it's hard to break out of that box of
Yeah.
what you expect business to look like versus how e-commerce can actually be accomplished.
Yeah. So keep it going though. This girl made an impression on you. This young lady that you saw, like, oh wait a second, there's something here.
Yeah. So I got on Facebook and searched for what the Amazon groups there were. And yours was actually the only one that I remember signing up for. I don't know what other ones that I signed up for, but yours was the only one that I got in and I saw good content and I saw people contributing. I think other ones were more run by like one individual or one group. It wasn't, this one felt like a community, that there were
Hmm.
many people contributing. You couldn't look down through the posts and see this is the person in charge of this group, that there were so many people who were bringing value to the table that it
Hmm.
felt like a lower barrier of entry to get into versus, I have to meet this one person, I have to get to know this one person, or, that person is who like we're all supposed to listen to and fall in line behind, that it was much more on like a level playing field for everyone.
I love that that's an impression that you've got. It's by design. I won't go into a lot of detail on that right now. Maybe we will later. But yeah, we've done that intentionally, where I want people to look at our community and go, okay, wait, who's in charge here again? I mean, I'm not too sure, because there's 110 of us that care deeply and serve this community in various roles. So I love that that was your impression. We want people thinking that way about our
Mhm.
community. That's great. All right, keep it going.
That the personability that was there, the way that it was really easy to connect with other people didn't make it feel like some far off thing that would be hard to accomplish. That I was getting to know other people and see them as real people, not just, names or little thumbnail pictures on a screen.
Right.
And so that really helped in recognizing that this is something that real people do and not just something that people portray that they do.
Yep.
That helped give it a lot more validity.
That made an impression on you. How long ago was this?
So that was fall of 22.
Okay. So
Yeah.
as we're doing a couple years ago, as we're recording today. Yeah.
Yes. And again, I mean, it was probably a week, if even that, it might have been days from learning that it's even a possibility to sell on Amazon to finding your community and then seeing hundreds and hundreds of people doing this, as a regular part of their life. And it, it was very fast how quickly went, okay, not something I even knew existed to like, now this is a huge part of my focus every day. And
You jumped in pretty quick at that point.
Yes, I'm a cannonballer.
Nice. Hey, there's room for all personality types. We have people who kind of investigate and check it out. I've had people come up to me at our events and say, I've been kind of kicking around like this can for 7 years. I think I'm going to do something. Like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, I've listened to every podcast episode. I've been in the Facebook, just haven't done anything. Like, do it. Just get started. So we tried to make that as easy as possible for people to just kind of baby step into this thing, right? We've focused on it because it's human nature. You got a lot of other things going on, but you're a cannonball, you said. What do you mean by that? Tell me about that.
Where if I get interested in something or I think something is a good thing to get involved in, that I typically get very involved very quickly. That I'm not someone that sits around and thinks about it for a while, which has its positives and its negatives. So
Oh, sure. Sure.
be aware of.
I imagine you're married to a guy who's the opposite. God usually does it that way.
Yeah. Yes. And Amazon, getting into your group, one of the first things I remembered learning was, take action and, start small, but start doing it because it is so much easier to learn that way. And, you can risk such small amounts while you are learning. And so that worked really well for me to be able to learn that. I was all for let's get it going. I will, I guess, do a little background just to give people more context as to why this business especially has been so impactful.
Absolutely. We love hearing those stories, the why behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my degree is in industrial engineering, and I worked for a few years for DuPont after college. And then my husband and I went into the mission field full time.
Really? Where?
We first were in Micronesia and then in Thailand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, there's 100 stories there that I would love to dive into if this wasn't an e-commerce podcast. We can connect those worlds a little bit, though, I'm sure. Fascinated with that, though.
I think this opens up the possibility for that being something in our future again.
Absolutely, it does, because this is a business in your pocket. If you got internet connection, you got your phone with you, you got the ability to connect somewhere. Keep it rocking. We got people all over the world. There's even what's his name? Roger. Is it Roger Dunn? I think in I believe it's Vietnam. Missionary. Full time and self-funded, and just doing incredible things. And his Amazon business funds the whole thing. I think it's a model. That's being adapted more and more. What denomination are you guys through? I'm just curious.
So we were with Iris Ministries, Heidi Baker.
Okay, yeah.
They had a harvest school where they prepare missionaries. And this one was specifically for people going to the 1040 window. And that's what we did in Micronesia, was that training school.
Okay, I got you. What years were you guys there?
We were just there in 2013 and a little bit into 2014.
Okay.
I got pregnant with our first child, and we knew Thailand wasn't going to be where we were going to stay long term, but we hadn't yet figured out next step. And so we decided we'll come home, we'll have the baby. She was the first grandbaby on both sides. Everybody can meet her, and then we'll leave again. And I have yet to leave the country.
Life happened. Yeah. Life happened. I get it. Yeah, I think every new parent, all new parents, including our kids having their first babies, like, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then the baby shows up, and you're like, no, you're not. You're not doing any of that. Good luck even still keeping a dog. It's like life is about to get different in beautiful ways. But it sounds like a little bit of that happened with you guys. So
very much so. And you would find this interesting. So many of those people that went to that school actually are back now in the United States. And none of us, so many of us sold all our belongings, expected, maybe we'd never see our family again. And we have found it really interesting that so many have felt called to come back here, invest in ways, that are affecting this country. So that,
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother topic. Perhaps not all listeners might be interested, but I would certainly resonate with, the, the culture of the United States needs saving as much as anyone right now in a lot of ways, right? So, yeah, that resonates with me for sure, and that's a lot of what we try to do with our community. I mean, I openly call this a ministry. This is an e-commerce podcast. We're going to share Amazon selling tips and strategies, and we want you to build a beautiful business using the internet creatively. But that's just a way to earn a relationship with you and
right.
hopefully build the relationships that can speak to the other important areas of your life as well. That's what
Mhm.
we do here. Whether you're interested in that or not, we've got the world-class content, but that's kind of our foot in the door to build a relationship with people around here. And we're intentional about that. And it's a global audience. So I do see this as being a catalyst and springboard to get back to, some people their big why is they want to live in a certain kind of house in a certain area and they want to have a certain kind of number of toys. But as they begin that journey, like bigger whys kind of come on the scene. Like, you know what? Having all the toys isn't necessarily what these blessings are for. I want to serve. Like, God, what are you calling me to? And those
Mhm.
questions start to get bigger. We've seen that happen a lot. We call them self-funded missionaries, even like, hey, I
Yes,
think God wants me to go here and do these big things for
right.
Him, and it's funded, self-funded through this
Mhm.
business in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we love to hear those kinds of stories, but we should probably keep it on track and not get too far off. We don't want to lose anyone. This is an e-commerce podcast. Sometimes I think I need to start a second podcast for like e-commerce missions ministry,
Yeah,
because it comes up so much around here. But
absolutely.
loving your story, Cassidy. Please continue.
So I had never expected to be a stay-at-home mom. And given the educational background between my husband and I, if we hadn't sold everything and left the country, it never would have been an option for me. I would have had the baby, done my maternity leave, and gone back. So it really changed the course of our lives and our children's lives to have that opportunity. And I enjoyed staying at home, but after a while, it also was a struggle to feel like I wasn't contributing outside of the four walls of our home. And if I had known that this had existed back then, it would have been a perfect match.
Mhm.
But it wasn't something that I was aware of. I got the opportunity in 2018 to run as a city councilwoman for my local city, and had done that up until just this past summer whenever I moved. But that really gave me an opportunity to feel like I was connecting with people. I wasn't just talking to children all day long, but I actually had some adult
Right.
interaction.
Right. Did you guys
But
homeschool too? Then it sounds like.
I do now. I haven't always.
Okay. Gotcha.
It is something that I wanted to do, but in the past didn't really have the ability to do it. So it Amazon has opened up that door for us.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, we've got a lot of homeschool families in our community as well, just because now they have the
Mhm.
choice, they have the option to do so. And
Yes.
I know that our family reaped tremendous benefits
Hmm.
from being able to do that. Both parents home. Like you're never gonna have a teacher that loves you more than your mom does.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So if that's kind of was our philosophy. Like we live in a decent school district. We know some great teachers, decent schools, some good private schools we probably could send our kids to, but no one loves them as much as we do. Right. And we're competent enough teaching the basics. And before you know it, we look over our shoulder and we've taken 5 kids all the way through homeschool. Like, well, I guess we did it. Yeah. And they all turned out great. So, okay,
Yeah.
there we go. There's the evidence. But
That is
e-commerce,
awesome.
yeah, e-commerce allowed us to be able to do that.
Hmm. So, city council, was a way that I could feel like I was serving people and being connected to my community, and I really enjoyed it. It certainly was not easy by any
Yeah.
stretch,
So you dipped
but
your toes in politics. I bet you have 100 stories there. Anything stand out that kind of connects to all these worlds, like e-commerce, mission?
um,
Like, talk us through that just a little bit.
so one thing that has been interesting to me, being involved in manufacturing world, political world, ministry world, e-commerce, just how much like communication can be such a
Mm.
downfall for all of us. That
Mm.
so many of the core issues are the same in all of those worlds. And
Yes.
people being able to connect with people and feel like the person across the table from me is someone who cares and
Yep.
is invested in who I am as a person and where I'm going. And I think that that goes a long way anywhere. And I think in some worlds, like in the ministry world, that's to be more, it's more expected that that's how people will relate.
Hmm.
But in the manufacturing world, in the political world, like you're supposed to care, but people don't actually think politicians care or listen, and a lot of them don't. And it has been interesting to get to meet politicians who are on the national level or the state level, and being in a leadership position within my county, I was able to sit next to them with big dinners that we would have, and see them on stage or see them on TV, and then get to have dinner with them and see a very different person. And there were some who were extremely genuine, and the next year would still remember who I was, which is shocking, but that was the minority. So it
Wow.
left you questioning a lot of what you see in people, and knowing that you have to really have some time with people to know who they really are.
Hmm.
That so a
Hmm.
lot of times that people do, I think many people can see that what they're getting on a screen might not be who the person really is.
Yeah, you got some really. It sounds like you've become a student of, and I consider myself a bit of this as well, a student of human behavior and connection and relationships and the dynamics that go into that. That's the leadership journey. That's basically what I'm hearing you describe is you're on a leadership journey. I think you're going to encourage a lot of moms too.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, politics and running your own e-commerce business and talk about homeschooling and mission. Like, yeah, life leaves a lot of space to do a lot of things with excellence. And the thing that I think propels us forward, see if this resonates with you, Cassidy, is I picked up a book as you were talking because I'm like, oh my gosh, that just sounds just like this is my favorite business book. Have you read this yet?
I have read parts of it. I haven't made it through all of it.
I'm holding up for those who are listening, Rabbi Daniel Lapin's Business Secrets from the Bible. That's the title of the book, Business Secrets from the Bible. He's been a keynote speaker at our events a few times, but he emphasizes over and over again a couple of themes that you just hit on as being key to success in business, politics, life in general. You are on a leadership, communication, and relationship journey. Your ability to build relationships and communicate effectively are the cap on you getting where it is you're trying to go. We're all built to influence, to encourage, to serve others. And our capacity to do that is our ability to connect and build relationships.
Right.
Communication is vital.
Yes.
That's one of the most important. If you think of like in politics, your ability, as we're recording this, there was a vice presidential debate just last night. Everyone's measured, were they good at communicating what they, never mind the ideas, were they good at communicating their ideas?
Hmm.
Right? It's one thing to have the thought in your head. It's another thing to be able to convince and persuade and tell the other person, convince the other person you care
Yes.
while making a point and taking things in the direction that you feel like they need to go, the persuasion element. Another book that comes to mind, I just want to recommend to the listeners is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mm,
Have
I
you
have
read
not
that?
read that one.
Oh, you would absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Just based on what you're saying and sharing and some of the things that you faced. The art of having a great conversation while basically letting the other person do all the talking and thinking you're a brilliant conversationalist,
Yeah.
but they did all the talking, right? It's those kind of skills. So yeah, I'm loving your story, and I just wanted to drop a couple of resources out there that I thought you might be interested in the listeners as
Absolutely.
well,
Yeah.
based on what you're
I.
kind of saying, because these worlds do combine and connect, don't they?
Hmm. One of the people that I was referring to who I had met and knew me again the next year is one of the people that were in the vice presidential debate last night. That in a one-to-one connection seemed like an extremely genuine person that really surprised me, because from other connections that I've had, I've not, you talk to someone, you meet them again, and they have no idea that you've ever met. But this person, a year later, not only met me, but remembered that I'd been pregnant, asked about the baby, and I was extremely surprised and impressed.
Wow. Yeah. It comes out eventually whether you actually care about people.
Yes. Yeah. And that's something too. I think it's so easy for people to assume the worst of others when they're just a face or they're just a name. But
Mhm.
you get to know people. And even if your politics don't at all collide, they see that you're a genuine person and that you genuinely care. And then it's so much easier to find common ground and be
Yes.
able to work together and get along. And
Yeah. Yeah. We've kind of lost something as a culture. I think the lie that's kind of penetrated our culture, and we'll get back into e-commerce here in a minute, but this is important stuff too, is if you disagree with me, that means on any issue, that means we can't be friends. And actually, we're supposed to hate each other
mhm,
and just throw barbs. Like
yes,
when did that happen?
right.
Like I'm perfectly capable. I mean, I disagree with my wife about stuff all the time, and we still love each other. We're gonna have a interesting conversation, perhaps, and agree to disagree, perhaps at the end of it. And if it's especially if it's a minor issue, preference type of stuff. But our cultures convince us, man. You disagree with me, that means we don't like each other now. We have to hate each other. Actually, like when did that start? I think it's a lie
Yes,
that's been
absolutely.
told, right?
It's
Um,
just having a label then means that you're not supposed to like that other person. And I know far too many people on both sides of the aisle that I love and trust and believe are good people for me to believe that I'm just supposed to hate them based off of their voting record.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think social media has maybe kind of exaggerated and exacerbated the problem a little bit. Everybody's in a box. It's like, oh, you're in that box? Okay, I hate everyone in that box. Like, when did we get here? But we digress. Well, let's try to keep it. I mean, it's such a great conversation. I love getting to know the people of this community. I think others are enjoying this conversation as well. But we may have some new listeners say, like, "Wait a second, I thought this was an e-commerce podcast." So let's throw them a bone.
Yes.
Let's get back on track. And
So I, in late, no, early 2022, went back into the workforce full time. And 6 months into that is when I discovered Amazon and selling
Okay.
on Amazon. So I, for about another 6 months, juggled, starting an Amazon business, working full time, going to city council meetings in the evening. And my schedule was down to the minute.
Doing it
I
all.
I don't know how people do it, but it is not something that long term I wanted to do or could do without, having significant health issues probably.
Yes, sustainable. One of my favorite words.
Yes. No, and I mean, I didn't feel like I was really doing any of it well because I wasn't able to focus and really give the amount of effort and like brain power to
Mhm.
each of it because I was trying to make all of it work.
Right.
Um, so I, in about a year into working, stopped working again. And it wasn't that I was making enough money on Amazon to be able to take account for the income that I was getting from my job, but we had seen enough to know this model is legitimate. And it's something that, given more time, more money to buy inventory, it will continue to scale. So we felt,
Mhm.
we hadn't changed our lives enough that we depended on that income, that we knew, that's not where we wanted to go long term. We wanted homeschool to be an option in the future, and you can't homeschool and do a full time job. I mean, I know there are people that make that work, but it was not something that I was willing to juggle all of that.
Right. Right. So
Um,
you left your job again. What was that like? Talk about that transition. Was it scary? Was it tense? Or did you doubt your decision? Or were you a cannonball?
no, yep, cannonball. I mean, I had spent years wanting to get back to work. And I think I probably would have felt very different if Amazon had not been an option, because I knew that there was something that I felt like I was being productive. I felt like I was contributing to the world. And my full time job was just something that was taking up time, preventing me from being able to grow my Amazon business. That
Mm.
it didn't feel like I was contributing as much value to the world at my engineering job as I did in my Amazon business. And so
Wow. That's it. I love the way you just put that. It's keeping me from anytime you start to have that thought, I think there's something going on internally. Like what I'm doing right now is keeping me from,
mm-hmm,
I think it has a little tug. Maybe it's even the Holy Spirit of God saying, because I remember that feeling as you said it when I had my last real job in sales. And it was keeping me from my evening weekend thing that was just a total blast. And I was in my lane and I was loving it. And I was sharing online the journey. Right. So that's what I detected there. So yeah, it sounds like you went with full confidence. Like, yeah, let's
Yeah,
go.
I mean, and I would later question it, but financially, again, wasn't really in a spot where if Amazon didn't work out, it was a huge deal.
Mhm.
So I didn't have, the amount of pressure,
Sure.
but I ended up I got into coaching late 2020 or maybe early 23.
Okay.
Um, I did not fully capitalize on it. You talk about having the margin in your life. And I think I confused margin with like desire, hustle, willpower that, I was going to make it all work, but to have like the time to schedule coaching sessions and, with having children, most of my time that I was able to devote towards Amazon was late at night or weekends and not, those schedules don't line up well with a lot of other people's schedules, which I've actually, I guess, been surprised maybe because I think when you get into the bigger, people start being more successful with this and they start doing it full time, they're not working those weird hours. But even when I stopped working full time, I still had kids that I took care of during the day. So, trying to do a Zoom call, my children are all at my mother's house right now. There is nobody in this house because they would not be quiet enough for me to be able to do this.
Right. So it's a lot of work to carve out. What's your oldest
Yeah.
is what, 10, 12? I didn't do the math.
Did you say kids?
Yeah, your kids, how old are they?
10 to 3.
10 to 3. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's a lot. I mean, we were at that stage 12 years ago
Yeah.
and just saying, hey, this hour and a half I need quiet. I'm gonna do so like that's a trick.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So squeezing it in.
Oh, it was
Um,
absolutely the cracks of my life, like you referred to. And
yes.
I sourced probably 85% from my phone for the first 6+ months because I did it while I was putting kids to sleep. You're
Hmm.
laying there in bed and you're looking at your phone while you're trying to get them to go to sleep next to you. And then
Yep.
I eventually got to the point now, because I still do it, where I work from my laptop. I went, oh, wait, I don't have to have a phone. I can actually bring my laptop in and wait till they're asleep and then pop it open and sit there because sometimes they wake up even when after they've gone to sleep. If you get up out of bed, then they wake up.
Right.
But, sitting in the carpool line waiting to pick your kids up from school and pulling Amazon up and looking on AZ Insight and trying to find this product, or you go to the grocery store and you go, oh, I've never seen that before. I wonder if that's good. And that it was something that I didn't have a lot of dedicated time, but you realize how much time you actually could be using. We waste so much time that there is so much available time to squeeze stuff in. It's not nearly as effective if you had dedicated time. You're not producing the same amount of output when those little tiny spurts, but it is some output at least. So
Yeah.
that time
Yeah.
is
You're so far ahead of where you'd be if your downtime habits were, some video game and a
mhm.
Netflix series you're trying to catch up on 12 minutes at a time here and there. Right. I mean, it's not ideal, but I love the fact that you're illustrating what it is possible to squeeze it in a few minutes here, a few minutes there, put it down for a day and a half, pick it up again for a couple hours the next day. Like it's conducive to that. And that's one of the reasons we love the
Absolutely.
model.
And it's so much more fulfilling than filling that time with, Facebook scrolling or
Yeah.
watching Netflix or whatever it may
Mindless,
be.
yeah,
Yeah.
distraction. It's one of the few positive uses for this little device that's in everyone's pocket now, right? And there's a lot of good that can come from it. But there's a lot of bad. I see it as one of the biggest battles in our culture is the proper use of this incredible resource we have
Yeah.
access to. It can be used for great good and incredible opportunity, and it can just destroy your soul too. And it's all right there in your pocket. You can pick it up anytime you want. Yeah, it's a pretty incredible time to be alive. The discipline required. for
Yes.
sure. Right.
Yes, which I struggle with self-control some. So it is something that is constantly testing me.
I think a lot of people are going to doubt that's true, that you struggle with self-control. And like, come on, you're running for politics. You got 4 kids. You want to be a missionary, corporate professional, achieving great things. Like, come on, running an e-commerce business. You sound like a very disciplined, routine-based person, but probably also like me, type A, like always beating ourselves up too. Right.
Very much so.
I know I'm outperforming pretty much everyone I know right now, but that's not good enough. Like, oh, come on, calm down, take a day.
I, I,
Relax.
I think many people in my life would also agree with you
I
that.
know. Yeah, I'm familiar with the personality type.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So you're doing the e-commerce business, like you mentioned. You're doing the research. Let's dive into the specifics. Like, what are you finding? How are you sourcing it? How's the business doing? Let's share some of those details.
So today, a lot of my sourcing comes from where I've bought lead lists in the past
Hmm.
and then been able to take all of those and either with Cheddar Soft or with the system, seeing where there might be sales going on or where there are really great cashback offers, and then going into that database and seeing what is still viable. Which again, like I still probably spend maybe 15 hours a week working that, homeschool has in no ways given me like more time.
Right.
I think, switching from politics to this, it it's different levels of stress or maybe different types of stress. But the time difference hasn't been substantially different yet. So it's still figuring out, what I can do to speed up that process as much as possible. And I have a VA that I use and I share with a few other people. So having that as a kickoff point, along with whatever, sales that might bring to me, um, using Keepa. I've decided recently that I really want to focus on becoming a Keepa expert versus trying to get involved with other software that I love with analyzing and researching things. But that's something, again, before Amazon, that the amount of things that useless things that I know stuff about that just because I have that desire to consume and learn, but the way that you're able to like change stuff so much with Keepa to find exactly what it is you're looking for. I love that aspect. And I've started doing a lot of Keepa tracking, which is something that I will, anyone getting started out, please, every time you see something that has ever been profitable, set up a tracker because maybe not 100% of the time, but almost all of the time, it will eventually become profitable again.
Yes.
And
Cyclical. Yep.
yes, and it, makes you cry a little bit if you think about how many things that you have looked at that if I had realized that Keep a Tracking was something that existed, I could have had it just send me the email. And I like to do them not when they're profitable, but
Mhm.
when it looks like it's heading to a point of becoming profitable.
You can get ahead of it a little bit. A little
Yes.
bit. Hey, we'll get back to the episode in just a moment, but I want to tell you about today's sponsor. If you are an Amazon seller who has more than just a handful of listings on Amazon, I can almost guarantee you that Amazon owes you money that you don't even know you're owed. There's all kinds of little reimbursements and rebates and refunds that Amazon owes you that unless you're actively going in and tracking them down, you are not getting all the money that you have coming to you. And today's sponsor does that for you. They only get paid if you get paid. And their first $400 of reimbursements are completely free. They don't charge you anything. They just prove that they're good at what they do. They're Amazon approved. They've been doing this a long time. They're a great friend of our community. Many sellers in our community use them. The company is Gitada, and I'm going to give you a link. Write this down. silentjim.com/reimburse. That link gets you the special offer that they have for our community, silentjim.com/reimburse. Be sure to tell them that I sent you, and you will enjoy the benefits of having someone else finding all the money that Amazon owes you. Go check them out now. let's get back to the episode.
It's heading to a point of becoming profitable.
You can get ahead of it a little bit.
Yes.
Let me fill the listeners in a little bit on what you're talking about. Then I'll have you describe for us how you're doing this a bit more. But Keepa, for those who don't know what we're talking about right now, go listen to podcast episode 369. It's a great episode. I could have made it yesterday. It's a few years old at this point. But Keepa is the only tool in the industry that does the things that Keepa does. Any other software tool that helps Amazon sellers, if it's of any value at all, it's because it's pulling Keepa data into the tool, because Keepa scrapes Amazon data that simply isn't available anywhere else. silentjimdotcom/Keepa has a link that you can go check Keepa out and start using it yourself. All right, so you talk about tracking. Keepa was originally set up. I don't know if you know this or not, Cassie. Maybe have you ever heard that it was set up as a tool for shoppers? Did you know that?
Used to use camel.
Yeah.
I didn't know Keepa existed, but for, still personally, if there's something I want to buy,
right,
you put in a price tracker and then it sends you
there's a certain skateboard your kid wants and the birthday's 6 months out. You're like, all right, well, let's just set up a price tracker and alert me when it hits a new low price, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was originally designed, but sellers now use it for our purposes in our community. And you can say, okay, this ASIN, Keepa, send me an alert if certain conditions are met. And I'm going to take another look at this thing. And Keepa can actually send you that alert. You can set those up. And yeah, you said it makes you cry to think. And, as a new seller, sometimes you're just going through like, nope, that's a loser. Oh, that's a loser. Oh, that's a maybe, but not quite. I'm going to move on. Loser. Oh, there's a winner. And you've eliminated all those losers instead of setting up tracking and saying, hey, if this ever starts to look like a winner, let me know. And we've got software and tools and things to automate and help you with that process rather than doing it one at a time now. We've got the system, silentjim.com/the system is one solution that helps you automate that. But you can use Keepa and just do it one ASIN at a time, one listing at a time. It sounds like you've done a fair amount of that. So talk us through that. What settings are you setting up? How do you do it? We can't do screenshot demos here, but talk us through that a little bit.
I just do the price. And I've learned recently to not only do the buy box price, but also just do the new price. Because if the buy box falls off, it could still be a good listing that's selling well. But if you're only tracking buy box price, you've missed out on that opportunity.
Yes.
So doing the new price and then also doing the seller count. And I like to look at, in the past, how quickly has it risen, or fallen in a month's time? If I can get the product, get it sent in. So I'm trying to do a month behind where it hit profitability so that I have enough lead time to get the product purchased to my prep center and make it into Amazon so that hopefully I hit, those mountains of when the price has risen up to the top again.
I love it. Yeah. And so many of them do run in cycles. A bunch of people go out and buy it because it becomes a hot ASIN. A bunch of people buy the product at a great price because it gets tanked because there's all these sellers on it beating each other up over price. And then it starts to come back up again when all the sellers have run out of inventory and decided they're done losing money and fighting each other. It's a lot of ASINs run. And that's just one of multiple strategies. But you really can play those curves hopping on at the right time and just make that your primary strategy. A good number of people do. That's the strategy that Kang used when he developed, the guy that developed the system. That's his primary strategy. There's so many other great ways to do this business, but that is one. Just ride the waves on the way up, jump off before they start coming back down again. Right?
Yeah. Yes. And I have been very grateful, for the system's ability to look at all of the leads that you have loaded into that and the way that Cheddar Soft does that as well.
Mm-hmm. So are you using the system then?
I do. I don't use it a whole bunch. I want to figure out how to incorporate it. It's harder when you've got the systems in place to make the jump.
Yes.
But also being like a single person, I use a prep center and they don't do it. And then I have a VA, but they don't purchase anything for me. So I'm not handing off a bunch of information. So figuring out how the system can work and I'm not duplicating my information.
Right.
Is something that I'm sure it exists. I just haven't figured
Right.
that out yet. So
Sure. You already have your processes in place. And we knew
mhm,
when we started rolling it out, again, we're talking about silentjimdotcom/the system. If you want to hear what we're talking, we keep calling the system. Ideally, I should say this, it's ideal for a new student starting out who doesn't have established processes and, things kind of already, got the spreadsheet for this and I got this tool over here that does that. It's designed kind of to help you avoid having to create all those things. But once you've got it in place and you're trying to kind of backfill, squeeze it into, it's a little harder. But we have people who've done it. We've done it with our business. We're in the process of doing it. We're 90% there.
mhm,
But yeah, so we're not saying there's one best right way. I think if you looked at 100 successful sellers in our community and said, okay, what tools, resources, procedures, do you use a VA or not? Are you using a prep center or not? Which Keepa strategies are you using? Which other software tools? You'd get 100 very different answers because we're still kind of pioneers going into the Wild West here, figuring this out, looking over our shoulder, going, oh, wow, I like what you're doing over there. I think I'm going to incorporate a little of that into my business. We're all making
mhm.
money, but there's not like this one right way.
No, absolutely.
Just so expansive.
Very
Yeah.
much so.
So how many ASINs do you have?
Only about 200. So I'm I was all excited to get over the 200 mark because I had heard that that was one of the possible, like, invisible barriers that you get over that and all of a sudden sales seem to pick up.
Yes. You start to see that steady, like, oh, I remember buying that. Oh, look, we're making some sales. Yeah. Stuff from a couple months ago is popping finally. So you got that cycle, you almost got that flywheel turning for you, that's when it starts to feel like that's kicking in around 200, 250 ASINs, something like that. We've noticed that as a pattern of you get that many replens in your book of business that you're monitoring. Yep. You'll start to see some momentum from it.
Mhm.
Fantastic. So talk us through the details a little bit more. You said you're using a prep center, right? So
Yeah.
you're not seeing or touching your inventory,
I have started with Q4 coming up trying to get a little bit into FBM
right?
and being able to capitalize on that. Now, my prep center will do FBM for me as well. So I've utilized them for that. And that has been incredible, especially with the Kate Spade stuff locking down. I had a shipment that they were sending in, paused to ask me a question. And that night is when they shut down Kate Spade. And so that whole shipment couldn't go in of all kinds of Kate Spade stuff. And then I had one on the way too. Um, but something that I wasn't aware of was if you have the listing already in inventory, that at least in this case, you were able to convert it over to FBM and then sell those as FBM, even though you couldn't send them into FBA any longer. And so that has been a huge saver in trying to offload as much of that inventory as I can.
Understood. Yeah. And so you're able to sell it merchant fulfill, selling it, shipping it yourself as the orders happen
Mhm.
instead of, instead of seeing it in FBA, which was restricted now. Yeah.
Right.
Which happens from time to time on brand. You got to figure out what you're going to do, which is one of the reasons we love Walmart and eBay and Facebook Marketplace, even if it comes to it. Right. But you are going to do some merchant fulfill from your own home as well, it sounds like, with Q4, which is wise because there's going to be a lot of opportunity just on retail store shelves around you. If you want to go into hustle mode, I've typically said if you're willing to go into hustle mode for November and some of December, you can put tens of thousands of dollars in the bank just grabbing retail stuff and flipping on the fast moving ASINs, shipping it yourself. In many cases, the stuff is selling while it's in your shopping cart. You haven't even checked out yet because you've listed it for sale. And before you get to your car and put it in your trunk, the stuff's selling because at great margins. Every year, that's been the case for 14 years with Amazon. I have no reason to suspect it won't be the same this year because people want the convenience of shopping online. They're willing to pay more. It's Christmas. They need it. They're going to snag it.
Yes.
The fast moving items.
So many people today are just busy. They're all
Yep.
running on such thin margins themselves that we don't,
Yes.
I think, habitually don't do a good job of looking forward. And we're going, oh my gosh, this is coming up. I've got this Christmas party where I'm supposed to bring a white elephant gift and I haven't
Yes.
come up with anything. And I
Yes.
don't really have time to run to the store. And I've got all
Right.
these kids I got to lug with me. So you
Yes.
get on Amazon and you're happy to because you have to have something.
Yes.
And you are so grateful that you're able to spend that few minutes wherever you are to get on Amazon and have something that comes to your door and is ready to go when you have to go to whatever this event is,
Yeah.
this birthday party. That I don't see that changing anytime in the future.
People's time is of so much more value.
Mm-hmm.
The precious minutes. If I can get something done in 2 minutes instead of 4 hours, yeah, I'll pay for that. Pay a
Mm-hmm.
lot for that.
Yes.
And that's what we see shopper behavior. Amazon has this thing where corporately they're trying to be perceived as the low price option. Find what you need at the lowest prices. Yeah, if you're willing to wait 4 or 5 days, maybe, yeah. But a lot of people don't shop that way. I think
Mm-hmm.
Amazon's in a bit of denial about the way people use their service. And I think that they could really improve their margins and make sellers' lives and shoppers happier by accommodating, like, just tell me the fastest option. It's hard to find the fastest shipping option on popular items. It's not
Yes.
easy. You got to scroll down, like, oh, look at the
Yes.
dates, and like, oh, okay, well, that guy's new. He has a 0 review score. He's get it here fast, but I don't know. Like, show me the fast option. That's what
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are going to take. And that's what a lot of the strategies we've been teaching lately to new sellers is you have to keep in mind, Amazon has hundreds of warehouses. Many of them don't have any units of the most popular in-demand items. If you send in a few at a high price, you're going to sell them because that becomes some shopper out there. It's their fastest option if they're in a hurry. And you just made a sale at a great margin and the customer's happy for it. So that's what you're talking about is there's such huge opportunity there. That's what we call it, the underserved shelf space at Amazon's hundreds of warehouses. And if you begin to grasp that, it does open up a lot of ASINs
Mm-hmm.
that the favorite, and we'll get back to your story in a second, but my favorite recent example of that is a young student of ours who sold 2,400 units of an item as the highest priced seller against 200 other sellers recently. So typically you'd think, oh, 200 sellers. No, I'm going to stay away from that product. There's no chance to make money there. No, he came in as the highest price and sold 2,400 units in a few weeks
Right.
because he was one of just a few FBA sellers helping fill the warehouse space. And people who are in a hurry, like you just described, Cassidy, took him and paid, in some cases, $10, $12 more than they had to get it fast.
Right. Yeah. That was on a school item. Like, that's a hard stop. I need.
Yeah. School starts tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. School starts in 3 days. Like, I need to finish my checklist. Birthday parties this weekend. Everybody's got their reasons for needing stuff fast.
Mm-hmm.
And not enough sellers are accommodating that. People are like, oh, man, I got to wait 2 or 4 days. Might as well go to Walmart.
Right. I don't know how on my phone, I don't know if the capability exists, but as a buyer, I don't know how to sort by delivery date.
It doesn't exist.
I wish that because for
I do
myself,
too.
I would constantly get behind the 8 ball and
Yes.
go, I need it here by this time.
Yes.
I don't care how much it costs. Like, there is
Right.
no other option. Or again,
Mhm.
it's me taking all of my children into Walmart to buy a toy.
Getting them all in the
That's
car.
not fun.
That's a nightmare scenario. Yes, yes. I'm begging. This is me. If anyone at Amazon is listening right now, please explain to me why it helps anyone to keep us from being able to sort by delivery date as a shopper. It doesn't help the sellers. That's us. It doesn't help the shoppers. It doesn't help Amazon. It's helping no one to not allow us to see what the fastest delivery option is. I think what's going on there is Amazon knows that the fastest delivery option in many cases is going to be a higher price, and they don't want to be perceived as a high price option. So they're keeping that perception. They feature more often than not the lower prices, even if it's 4, 5, 8 day delivery, instead of the 2 hour option, which is in a warehouse across the street.
Yeah.
That's down at the bottom of the list of sellers. You got to scroll down there to see it. And if it's a smart seller, it's priced a little higher because they know this is an in-demand, underserved listing. So I think they need to let us sort by date. And I'm going to keep making that case. And the day it happens, I'm going to take credit for having begged Amazon into doing it because I've been saying it to a lot of anyone who will listen for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
So no, they don't allow you to sort by date,
Right.
delivery date currently.
Yeah. We've moved to a much more rural area now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my prime is nowhere close to 2 days.
Right.
But it would be so nice. And funny, it has made how much it has changed life to not be able to get Amazon packages in 2 days. You're so dependent on not needing to be worried about something. It's a Monday, you've got a birthday party on the weekend. I don't really have to worry about it until tomorrow.
Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday's
Yeah.
fine. Now you got to start thinking 5 days ahead. Like, come on, that's not how the world should work. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been spoiled by this, and it's going to get it. I think the game has only begun, Cassidy. Here's my theory: with drone delivery, which is kind of freaky sci-fi to me. I'm not saying I'm a huge fan, and I can't wait to see drones flying everywhere delivering people's pizzas and stuff. I don't know that I like that, but the reality is, if that's what customers demand and that's what's coming, the underserved shelf space at Amazon is going to shoot through the roof when we start to adapt not just like 2 to 4 hour delivery, but 20-minute, half-hour delivery options and millions of items. Amazon is not stocked, nor do they have any intention of stocking themselves adequately to be prepared for that.
No.
If people start using it, it's
Right.
going to be us. That's opportunity for us. Yeah, it's going to be. The game has only begun. It says resellers. Yeah, huge, bright future. Well, it sounds like you built a great, robust business. What else can you tell us about it? Share any other details that you'd like, or if there's anything else on your mind, topics that you were hoping to get to today. It's kind of
Okay.
balls in your court.
Let me see my list of items I had that I wanted to not miss. I think something that was helpful for me getting started was, or maybe not even getting started, but into the journey, the transition of having it, like the pressure of the test. When I first started and I only had a little bit of money to use, I was so worried about the test not being successful and losing that money that I think I hesitated to pull the trigger more in the beginning than what I do now.
You're
But
talking
I
about
got to,
testing a new ASIN, right?
right.
Yeah, sending in a few units to
And,
test. Yeah.
and when you only start with a few $1,000s, if you lose $100, like that feels like a much bigger deal. But I got to the point of recognizing again, like, okay, if I buy 5 of these at $20 and I make no money on it for whatever reason, like I've lost $100. Okay, I can handle that. But for some reason, the idea of the test failing is something that I struggle with. But realizing, what's worst case scenario? I've just sunk $100. Is my business going to collapse and I not have it tomorrow? No. Okay, let's not let that fear hold me back. And that's where the 3-step test that the Olsons do has been really helpful in feeling more confident, but at the same time taking the pressure off that, it's a test. It doesn't have to be profitable. This is the first one. I'm seeing if it's good. And if it is good, I'm counting on buying that over and over and over again versus putting so much pressure on this first round having to be successful. And
Yeah.
that mindset shift was really helpful for me.
That's a great tip. You're very in touch with the kind of the psychology of the new seller. I'm very far removed from that, but you're so right. That failure is such a bad word. Even a small failure, like, well, if I fail, that's bad. Like, no, it was a test and you learned. And 95% of the time, what that means is those 5 units that you bought for $20 each, instead of getting $100 back, you got $94 back.
Right.
And you've got 5 good transactions in the system now. It's like, all right, I lost $6.
$6 learning.
Yeah, like that's not a big hard lesson to swallow. Like that's the kind of stuff we're having you do. There's very few scenarios, Cassie, where you buy the inventory and that money's gone forever.
Exactly.
Because you're testing, and your worst case is, like as we're discussing, is you have to drop the price, get most of that money back, or break even. Right?
Yeah.
That's a failed test.
Yes.
That's not a failure. That was an experiment that didn't go as well as you were hoping, and you put your money somewhere else, right? Yeah, great point. I love that you brought that up.
And being able, when you get further into your business, pulling the plug on things that aren't going well so you get that money back to be able to reinvest it. It was still a while for me to not feel like, oh man, I'm losing $6 on this and caring so much about losing that $6, but then stepping back and going like, why do I care about $6? I want to sell it, even though I'm only selling it for $50 and it is a $6 loss. What can I buy with that $50 that I could then resell and, make $20? Just get the money back if it's not going well and move forward, and being able to just keep that cycle going versus trying to hold on to product because, yay, you sold it for whatever your, goal ROI is something that knowing how much turning that money over in a good time frame, how impactful that is overall.
Yeah, keep the money moving.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a Hebrew principle there. The word for money and the word for blood in Hebrew are similar words with overlapping meanings. That's why we have blood banks. We were talking about that's where we keep money in banks. That's where we keep blood too. They're both fungible, right? And when they're circulating, there's life, there's power, there's momentum, there's achievement. When it's just sitting there, there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You see blood just sitting there, there's a problem. You see money just laying on the ground, like something went down, something's wrong here, right? Same thing with your inventory. It's just sitting there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's put some life back in. Let's get that money circulate. Let's get that stuff moving again. You don't want stuff just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
If you got stuff still on the shelf that was on the shelf 6 months ago, that's blood just on the floor. That's money just sitting in the middle and doing nothing. Get it moving. So yeah, sometimes we're too hesitant. It's like, if I just wait a little longer. No, take the money and run is a much better plan than hoping it comes back someday and it comes to life. Just as a general rule in business, you'll come out so far ahead. So yeah, that's exactly what you're saying. I'm just borrowing some thousands of year old wisdom from Hebrew biblical principle. It's like, keep it moving, man. That's the rule. Keep it moving.
And along with the 3-step test, I struggle with being too optimistic. So that 3-step test has helped me because I look at, what it's sold for, high price. I know how many other listings that I'm selling for that, Keepa isn't capturing that data. But then I expect that to happen over and over again. And I have to reel myself in and go, okay, is it profitable at the lowest buy box in the last 90 days? If you're good there, then, it's safe to move forward. But if not, just saying no. Like I keep going like, well, just maybe I can make it work if, and that has not been helpful for me to, being optimistic is helpful in every other aspect in life. For this one, being realistic, because you have no control over what happens once you buy it.
Right.
So you can't force the sale to happen unless you lower your price, which then makes it to where it might not be profitable. So you have got to do a good job when you buy the product so that you're set up and you're protected from the potential of loss whenever the sale does occur.
Good advice for sure. I'll stick a link to the podcast episode where Robin kind of went over that 3-step test as well, because you've referenced it a couple of times. It's very powerful stuff. We won't dive into it now, but basically the checkpoint for putting maximum protection possible on your capital before you invest in your inventory through the replens lens that we teach in the Proven Amazon course. It's the 3-step check. Yeah, good stuff for sure. A lot of people use that as their guideline for making the yes or no, red light, green light decisions on where they put their inventory,
where
they put their investments.
And one thing that I'm surprised I don't see more overlap. At the conference last year, I met Doyle Peck and started learning some about the credit card travel hacking and having a love for travel. It's something that, especially with my kids and being able to homeschool, in the future, I'd love to do more of the world schooling to where, we go, we're learning about Gettysburg Address, and we actually go to Gettysburg and we stand out there on the field and we look out and say, like, can you imagine 200 soldiers coming at you? And you might have been 16 years old, and, to really get them to experience what life was like for other people and to, touch things. And so utilizing all of the spend that we have in our business naturally each month to be able to also be building up the points. I'm surprised that I don't see more overlap of that happening, and not even from like our monthly spend, getting points, but the sign-up bonuses that the credit cards have that you can continue to roll over. I'm, in the travel hacking world, those people are trying to manufacture spend to meet these startup bonuses. And they're like, can I pay my car payment all at, a whole year's worth? Can I pay my taxes with this? Can I, how do I pay my handyman? And it can count as my into my sign up bonus.
Yeah. How do I pay the kid that cuts my lawn? $20 a week. How do I get that onto a credit card?
Yes.
Yeah. So I need the points. I need the points. Yeah. That manufactured spend, that's a great term. But as Amazon sellers, this is where you're going, we have that opportunity in abundance. And
Yeah.
even on that transaction you mentioned earlier, like, should I buy these 5 units? I might just break even. Okay. You broke even. You send $100 in, you got $100 out, but you got the points too, right? So you start intentionally stacking those. And
Yeah.
yeah, we got some people doing that at scale. And I know Doyle, who's actually going to be a guest on the podcast soon. We've had to reschedule a couple of times. He's going to be on the association. Like on anyone on his team, when they get married, he sends them wherever they want to go, pays for the trip, the hotel, everything, on him, all the points. He's got all these points because he's using all the credit cards and buying in volume.
Yes.
Just another perk. Travel becomes, free
Yes.
basically with the right cards, the point. We do Southwest points for all our inventory, and every couple months I got enough to take a bunch of people just about anywhere, and it's all going to be covered, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's beautiful.
I don't know if I'll do the Southwest card this year because with their companion pass, if you time it correctly, you can get enough points from the sign up bonus to hit that companion pass and have it for the next. If you do it right at the beginning of the year, the whole rest of 2025 and 2026, that you can have somebody fly with you for free.
Yes. And I always kind of accidentally hit that and I never pay attention to those details. But I do know there's people, and I'm not encouraging this necessarily because it's outside the scope of what I'm familiar with. There's no reason I'm not encouraging someone not to do it. But I know there's people that just kind of go card to card to card to card, constantly sign up bonuses, close one down, rotate them. We got a guy in our community that has 31 cards, and he actually on a Sharpie wrote the number 1 through 31 on the 31 cards. And when he's shopping online for product, if today's the 9th of October, let's say, he'll get out card number 9 for his shopping. And he knows that before the 9th comes back around, if today's the 7th of October, he's paying off the cards, the 8th or the 9th, like paying them off before they're due. So he never has to worry about going over 30 days. He's very detailed, so he's never paying any interest, but he's got all these cards and all these points. I'm like, wow, you got how many credit cards, right? But there's very few downsides if you're disciplined, from my understanding. Again, I'm not encouraging people to go do this, do your research, but you can get pretty creative and you can get a lot of points, and you keep flipping these cards like, oh, sign up bonus. Yep, I'm in. Right. Oh, I get $500 if I spend $1,000 in the first 30 days. Yep, I'm in. We got people doing that at scale. So it sounds like you've investigated that a little bit. You probably know more about it than I do.
It's been a few. I'm really meeting Doyle at the conference in May was really the catalyst to looking into it, because having 4 kids that you got to put on a plane, that's expensive to go
Absolutely.
anywhere.
Yep.
So a way that not only do I get it discounted, but I can get stuff for free. And then you can get the lay down flights. I've done so many. The South Africa flight, I think I've done it 6 times, and, a 16, 18-hour flight. And it is not easy on a body, but being able to lay down and sleep, that opens up for many decades ahead of me the possibility of international travel.
Yes. Yes. And you start tying that into missions, and there's even another connection point. Like, this is the stuff that we need to be teaching and learning and taking advantage of the opportunity that's here. And it helps make a whole lot more sense to take those little risks to buy inventory. I mean, that's, it's not a 10% difference, but it's a 2 or 3 point difference. That I think that's that little confidence boost. You're collecting the points, you're collecting the bonus benefits and that sort of thing. And you're getting access to, a little example is when we do a lot of retail sourcing, we were hitting Kroger hard there for a while. And I would get 80 cents off every gallon of gas, just because I'm buying so much stuff from Kroger. Every time I go to pump, I put in my phone number. It's like, whoa, okay, yeah, I'll take $1 off a gallon, sure. Fill up my big old SUV. That's $90 that I didn't have before, just because I was putting my phone number in at the checkout, and they're tracking all the points. So you start stacking that stuff up. It has a real impact. on your family's budget and the opportunities that are available to you, right? So it's just another fun perk of doing this business.
Yes, there are so many ways. It's not the money that you're getting back from Amazon, but there's so many other benefits that you can work into. And I mean, that's just buffer for you to
Yes.
feel more confident in being able to invest in this business and invest in yourself, because you know these other things are also going to be, you say, that moat around your business.
Yep. Yep. That's right. That's right. Well, so what else is on your list? You got some good stuff.
I think the probably one last thing is just the focus in on what method you want to use, what software you want to use. That I, along with my cannonballer, I mean, maybe I'm a shotgun also, like that shiny object syndrome. That's one of the downfalls to the cannonballing, is being like, well, that sounds amazing and I should do that. And then I completely go in and then forget what I was doing over here. And, that jumping around hurts your effectiveness so much. So deciding what you want to do, do you want to do RA? Do you want to do OA, wholesale, whatever it is you're working on, and make sure you're getting really good at that and have it going well before moving on and getting distracted by doing something else. And, those are really good stepping points, that all the things you learn from one really help you in the next one. But I think that also applies with the software and the ways that we source that, or the stores that you use, the brands that you're looking at. The more time we spend with it, it's so much easier to source when you know the brand, the store, when the sales cycles are happening with that store. But if we're dividing our attention too much, we're not in anything long enough to become an expert.
Yes. Shiny object syndrome. It's real. Yeah. Bouncing around. Yeah. For sure. It's one of the you have to develop the discipline to focus on one thing. We call it bolting instead of bouncing, right? Around here. Bolt down the system, put a good person in charge, get it rock, and now go add more income streams, add more strategies, right? But there is a healthy balance too there, I would say, Cassidy. And what I've discovered is I think you do need to be spending at least 10, 20% of your time, if we're going to put a number to it, learning and studying and seeing what else is out there. Like this podcast kind of serves that. We may have a podcast episode about wholesale selling. You're not doing wholesale right now. And just because someone else is doing it and they're killing it doesn't mean you got to go all in on wholesale now. But it does mean you can start to think, okay, that's on my radar. At some point, I'm going to journal maybe like, hey, when I get to this point, I'd like to have these things operating at this level. And I'm going to start doing some wholesale. Or when you're having conversations with some of your brands and you're getting to know some of these brands, like, I think I'm going to call these guys. Is there a chance that maybe at some point I could get an exclusive relationship and help you guys with your brand on Amazon? I've noticed some things. It plants that seed, and you don't abandon everything that's been working in the past. You keep that all going, but you got this 10 or 20% of your brain over here going, yeah, I think I could tie this into what I'm doing at some point. That's the balance, the delicate. But that's also the ongoing challenge. I love that about this e-commerce business. There's nothing routine stuck in a rut. If you're stuck in a rut, you're not doing it right. Always something new to discover, an add-on, but you got to keep the stuff that's working maintained too. So it's a nice, and I think life is like that too. Marriages, health, like everything. You got to keep doing the stuff that's working, but you don't want to just get into a rut of just like same thing every day. Next Tuesday at 4:27 p.m., I will be doing this because that's what I did last Tuesday at 4:27. Like, no, life's not supposed to be like that.
I could not live like that.
Like, at least I can't take it like that.
No.
I'm not anti-routine by any means, but this business is not going to be that because the internet's always changing. There's always new things to learn. Amazon has a new policy. There's a new opportunity that pops up as a result, right? So welcome to the adventure. Well, you've got so much knowledge, Cassidy. I want to announce, I know you know this, but for the world, those who don't know, I may have mentioned it in the intros actually as well, but you're one of the new coaches on our team. You're going to be helping new sellers get ramped up into this business. Obviously, you're overly qualified for the position. So congratulations. Thank you for joining the team and welcome aboard.
Yeah, I'm super excited to do it. I love being able to connect with people and to help them, figure out from mistakes that I have made and, just connecting them with different resources, different people that I've met doing this to be able to help them scale faster than what I was able to do. And, really be able to see people affect their lives, their families, their communities through having the flexibility that this business offers.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, a mission statement well stated. I can see why you did great in politics and leadership roles. There's a talent there that becomes very apparent. After I've done a bunch of these podcast episodes, I can kind of almost in my mind at times, I can just project out the trajectory someone's on. You're on this obvious leadership trajectory. God has called you to leadership roles, positions of teaching others, encouraging others, and getting things done, maybe is what I'm trying to say. So I'm just thrilled to have another great coach on the team. We've got about 60 coaches right now, and just some of the most incredible people that I would love to just sit and learn from, given the opportunity. But we're all over the world, so we see each other once or twice a year, maybe. But welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Just honored to add your talents to the pool of what we offer around here, and enjoy the journey.
Yes, I mean, having new ways to connect with people is an exciting thing to be able to learn
Absolutely.
about. I mean, whenever I was talking with Matt about it, he asked me if I thought I had that capacity within my life, and that it's only going to benefit my business. Not only will it
Right.
benefit me personally, but the new things that you learn by coming into contact with people and the way that they do things, or if they want to learn how to do this and you have no idea, so you then have to go out and find that information to be able to help them. That us helping each other only benefits us.
Yeah,
So
the synergy effect of coaching
yes,
is unbelievable. That's one of the things I share with all of our new coaches. And you and I are going to have that discussion after this podcast ends. But one of the things I always share is don't be surprised if you're making a lot more money from the ideas, and that you're going to have a problem that you have to solve for one of your students. Like, what? I don't know the answer. I'm going to go post in the leadership group and find out. And you're like, whoa, holy cow, that's cool. And you come back with a new idea, not just
yeah,
for their business, but for your business, a new
mhm,
connection, a new opportunity, new insights that you just wouldn't have had otherwise. So yeah, teaching makes you super sharp at the business. It really does.
mhm.
Educating and mentoring others, so you're going to find yourself at a sharper, higher level very quickly. So yeah, just another side benefit of it. But thank you for carving out a little bit of time to help new students. And for those who are listening to the show today, if you're interested in talking to us about coaching, have it just a completely free phone call and just chat with us, see if it's a good fit, good match for what you're trying to do. You can go to silentjimdotcom/book a call, all one word, book a call, and get on our schedule. Or you can text us anytime. There's a number at that link as well. Just shoot us a text and say, hey, I got a couple questions about coaching. Someone will respond to that text and help you out if you'd rather interact with us that way. But we love having a great team of mentors and coaches who've built beautiful businesses assisting our community. But was there anything else on your mind, Cassidy? This has been a great episode. I know the kids are probably anxious to get back into their day.
Nap time.
Right. Yeah, the babysitter is about done. So
Grandma.
I remember those days well. But it's certainly been a pleasure hanging out with you. But anything else on your mind? I didn't want to cut you off if there was anything else that you were hoping to get in today.
I don't think so. I think that's everything I had in my note.
Outstanding. Well, you were a great guest. I really appreciate you being on the show today. And for the listeners who hung out with us today, if this was one of the first episodes you've heard, I've got really good news. We've got a whole bunch, hundreds of episodes where we've interviewed the successful students from our community who have built businesses, telling their stories, what they're doing, how it's working, how they learned. And if you want to go back in time and listen to those, just scroll back. It's completely free. Silentjimdotcom has links to all of them. If you're watching us on YouTube today, you should know there's several audio only episodes that aren't on YouTube. So get over and subscribe to our podcast. Silentjim.com has the link to our podcast. Leave us a review if you like this show. That's a great way to kind of pay back a little favor to us. 5-star reviews only. If, like my mom always said, if you don't have anything good to say, keep your mouth shut. Hey, 5-star reviews. We love seeing those pop through. Go ahead and leave one of those for us on iTunes. We'd sure appreciate that. But God bless the business building warriors. Cassidy, one last time, thank you. You're a tremendous guest. Great
Thank you.
getting to know you. Thank you, my friend. Look forward to working with you. And to the listeners out there, the business building warriors, we're in your corner. We're praying for you. God bless you, your family, your business. We'll have another great episode for you again very soon. We'll talk to you then.